Welcome to Western Wisconsin Journal. I'm Bobby Pominville. I do a lot of reporting on the arts on this show, and today I have a super musician here. And I don't usually do a lot of band musicians and jazz band especially, so I'm really excited. I want to welcome Nick Syman to the show today.
Thanks.
Welcome, Nick.
Thank you.
This is going to be a fun talk for me because I really don't know a lot about jazz, and I'm hoping you're going to help me with that. But first, let's go back to your growing up years and just getting started in band music, I assume. And tell me, how were you influenced by that music when you were growing up?
My great-grandfather was a jazz piano player in Milwaukee.
Oh.
And because of that, I think my grandfather and my dad were both very much into that kind of music. So I grew up listening to it.
So your dad actually plays too?
Yep, he plays trumpet.
And he actually plays in bands, from what I've heard.
Yep, he plays in the Century College Big Band.
Oh,
which is sort of
yes, I know a little bit about that from some of the people I sing with are in that and running it. That would be Larry.
Yep.
And should I tell them that I also sing with your mother?
Yeah, you do.
St. Croix Sacred Ensemble, and she is wonderful, and I happen to get to sit by her. She's been so good to me, and I've only been in it 2 years.
Good.
So you were growing up in Stillwater.
Yep.
So who influenced you there?
I took piano lessons in elementary school.
Wow.
And then eventually studied with a guy, Dale Seitzer, who taught out of Water Music, which was downtown Stillwater.
yes.
It's not there anymore.
I do know of that store.
And he got me into some of this playing by ear sort of jazz stuff.
Oh, wow.
He used to play at the Saints games sometimes. He used to play organ at the Saints games sometimes.
That's
So
incredible.
he was kind of he was a funky piano player. And he got me into so I started playing a little bit of that, and then I started band in 5th grade over at Stonebridge Elementary School.
You know, you're so lucky you had that piece, because with me it's all note reading.
Mm-hmm.
And then don't you think it's difficult to transition?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And I actually had to take a couple improvisation things
Right.
at UWRF so I could get my piano skills a little bit looser
Right.
than reading notes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's hard.
So you're lucky. So
Yeah.
then you were in the Stillwater Band, I assume.
Yep. Wayne Feller was my band director.
That's a familiar name. Yes.
So I went through that program.
Good.
And it's just, it's a great music program.
Yes.
And had good people. And then eventually in high school, when I started at the high school was when Dennis Lindsay had started at teaching at the high school too.
Oh, he's a good teacher.
So he was my jazz ensemble teacher.
Oh my gosh.
Along with Mike Walk at the middle school. So I had I was really lucky. with
Oh
music
boy,
teachers.
you're very, very lucky. I mean, and that just shows how you have blossomed. And now you're a teacher. So what about your college experience? What was that like?
I went to St. John's University.
Oh, yes.
I wasn't sure if I wanted to major in music, but then I got there and I just loved the music courses, so I had to stick with it.
Good.
But a smaller school with a smaller music program, but a lot of really great people.
Oh, good.
Dale White and Bruce Thornton are some really great musicians up there.
Oh, boy, I love it up there. I've been there twice to summer school.
So,
Of
and
course,
then,
that's been vocal. We're kind of opposites that way, but
well, great
I'm
people.
learning
I mean,
from you.
Axel Timer is
yes,
just like,
Axel was there.
just a fantastic guy. Though I know that there's some interesting connections between Axel and St. Olaf and those people.
There is.
So,
His children, I believe, are
well,
kind of
he,
connected. And then he was directing one of the adult choirs, I
um,
want to say.
yeah, I don't know.
Monium Corum or something. I may be wrong.
So,
Don't
yep.
quote us. But I know he was directing a group in the cities, and I, of course, forgotten. So then was your first job Hudson?
No, from there I went and got my master's degree at Indiana University.
Oh, my goodness. A
So.
very, very prestigious
It's big, yeah.
university.
Yeah, I went there and got to work with David Baker, who's sort of one of the fathers of jazz pedagogy. He's wrote some of the first really serious jazz pedagogy books, and I got to be his TA and work with him and study down there. So
What an experience.
yeah.
Oh my goodness. I admire you for going through that. So then you got the job in Hudson. I forget, how long have you been here?
This is my 6th year teaching.
And you were hired specifically for jazz,
Yeah, well,
I think.
Yep, the guy I replaced was Aaron Hilden, who was a really great
Oh,
jazz
yes,
saxophonist.
yes, Aaron.
And he had done great work with the jazz ensemble for 10 years. And they wanted someone who could pick up kind of where he was leaving off.
Boy, and you
So.
just sailed in because you were all set and all that training, and how wonderful.
I was lucky because I had just what I needed
Yeah.
to kind of go into that job. So.
And you know, I've taught in the Hudson schools, but I've always admired the band program. I think it's excellent. It's very popular. And I just wonder if you could tell us a little bit what is available to the students, and especially highlight the jazz band area.
Yeah.
I don't know what courses are available.
So at the high school we have 3 bands, just 3 regular traditional bands that meet during the school day. And then the 2 big sort of extracurricular ensembles that we offer are the marching band in the fall and the summer, and then the jazz ensembles, which run mostly in the winter and the spring.
Oh, yeah.
So we have 3 jazz ensembles.
Oh,
Yeah,
I didn't know that.
yeah.
I was thinking 1 or 2 at the most.
Yeah, we have 2 big bands of about 18 kids, and then we have a 3rd band that's sort of a mix of a bunch of different instruments. We have violas and cellos and bassoons.
Oh, that's neat.
And my colleague Ryan McCarthy directs that group.
Yes.
So.
Yes. Now tell me, how do you audition the kids for jazz band? Have they got experience at all, some of them?
Well, there's been a pretty good jazz program at the middle school.
Oh, I see. Okay.
Kaylin Brown runs that now.
Yes.
So they come in with some
Yes,
experience.
that makes sense.
They're always a little frightened to audition.
Well, yeah.
But the
That's
auditions
intimidating.
are, yeah. But it's pretty simple. They just come and play some scales and play, do a little sight reading, play a little jazz. So.
Oh my goodness. I just have always wished I could do that. So do you have any concerts coming up yet this year? Or when might we be able to see a jazz band concert?
Well, I think when this is going to be released, we'll just miss the last one. Because this coming Friday,
This Friday.
April 28th, is our final celebration, which we do at the band shell each year. So,
Oh.
Yep.
Oh,
So
cool.
at 6 o'clock then,
This Friday.
this Friday.
Well, that might work for me. So 6
good.
o'clock at the band shell.
Yep.
Weather permitting.
Yep, the weather was going to be bad, but now it looks like it's going to be all right.
Good.
So, yep,
And like, will that feature all of those groups?
just
or
the two big
the
bands.
2 big bands.
Yep.
Okay. I did not know you played down there,
Yeah.
especially in April.
Yeah, well,
That's
we've done
news
it.
to me.
It's new. I started doing it when I got here because it's a nice band shell.
Yeah.
And it was always a bit of a gamble at the end of April, but we haven't been rained out
true.
yet.
Oh,
This is-
right,
if we-
because you never know about that weather.
Yeah. I think my second year we had a beautiful day and the next week it snowed.
You were very lucky. Wow. I wish we could have announced it sooner, but well.
Then there's a band concert though. That's coming up. That's May 24th.
Okay, well
Wednesday.
then that'll be in plenty of time. Because hopefully this will be out May 1st or close to that date.
Right.
And so we can promote that a little bit. Well, wonderful. Now I have to ask you this. What is your favorite part of teaching?
Wow.
I know that's a tough question, but I thought it'd be fun to hear from you.
Yeah. Well, it's I love being able to just interact with music every day and share that with students.
Yes.
It's such it's such an interesting puzzle. I mean, on its own, just trying to figure out music on its own is crazy. But then when you put a student who's trying to learn it at the same time, it's really engaging problem solving, I think.
Well, you know what I've heard recently? That you're an excellent teacher.
Well,
And I've also heard that they love you for the lessons.
Well, yeah, the lessons are hard. You know, try to get a high school student to figure something out in 15 minutes is challenging.
Wow, that is difficult.
So.
And so do you take everybody in your jazz band maybe for a lesson once in a while?
Yeah,
don't
they
know how
can
that
do
works.
that. They can do that. Mostly our lessons are connected through the wind bands that we run.
Oh, yeah. So you really have a lot more students to think about.
Yeah, so I think I have 70 students, 70 brass students.
Oh, yes.
So.
And of course, your expertise is in brass.
Yeah, I'm a trombone player.
And so did you choose the trombone in 5th grade, or were they kind of auditioning you a little bit?
Well, we just went through this with the middle school.
Oh, yes.
Most programs do
Yes.
this where you come in and you test out the different instruments.
Yes, I've heard of that.
And part of it is to try to see what your face fits, which instrument
Yes,
works
of
for you.
course.
But part of it is just to make sure that we don't have 80 saxophones and 30 drummers and 1 flute.
Yes,
So.
because I guess when I was going through, my dad
Mm-hmm.
insisted I play alto sax.
Right.
So I didn't really have a choice, but I was fine with that because he played it, and it was okay with me. But then there were also always people that wanted the same instrument, like a flute or something.
Right.
So then you have to kind of influence that a little bit.
Just a little.
Yeah. Otherwise, you would have all
Yeah.
the same.
So I went in for that testing night with Wayne Feller.
Did you?
I remember that, going into his
Yes.
office.
Yes.
And I wanted to play the saxophone or the trumpet. And I
Ooh,
tried out the different mouthpieces, and he said, "Oh, the trombone mouthpiece works really well for you."
really?
I don't know. He could have been just trying to get more trombones, or maybe it worked. But
I have a feeling it did work well for you.
hopefully,
Because now I hear you're playing with a lot of other musicians on the adult level.
yeah.
And so tell me about your special group. You have your own group.
Yeah. About 2 years ago, I started my own quartet.
Mm-hmm.
It's a jazz quartet with trombone, piano, drums, and bass.
Yeah.
Some local friends of mine.
How fun.
Yeah, we recorded about a year ago, recorded an album and released it last November. So,
That's wonderful. And I can't wait to hear some of that music. So I'm going to make sure they play some of it during this piece of this interview or part of
right.
it.
All
So our audience can hear that too.
good.
So you just now recorded your first CD,
Yeah, with that group.
and I bet you'll have a lot more to come.
Well, I'm working on a few more projects now. So,
Now I've never understood how you could do jazz and then make it all fit together. Do you have to say like, okay, we're going to start in the key of G or anything, or do you just start, or
Well,
how does that work?
it kind of depends on the type of jazz.
Oh, I see.
So the stuff on my quartet record it's all compositions. So I've written out the melodies and the chord progressions
Really?
and the styles and stuff.
You wrote all this music?
Yeah.
I'm shocked.
Well, it's pretty common in the Twin Cities jazz scene. A lot
Really?
of original music, a lot of musicians that are also composers. It's a very sort of independent, driven scene in the Twin Cities, which is fun.
So you've written all these things.
Well, for this album, yeah.
Yeah.
So, yep.
Well, I'm totally impressed with you.
Yeah. Well, thank you.
So now how do you come up with a melody?
Well,
You just sit down and kind of go, oh, I think I'll do it this way, or do you
Kinda.
hear a lot of things, I don't know, in your world where you're probably listening to a lot of music and that?
that's the two main sources, really.
Oh, really?
Just listening to different things and sort of, having that as part of your life, and then sitting down and seeing what happens.
Wow.
And then kind of a lot of the troubleshooting, at least for me when I'm writing, is kind of figuring out, all right, how do I make this work? And that's where I use a lot of influence from listening to other people.
That's really interesting to me,
Good.
because I never knew how it all worked.
Yeah, it's still kind of mysterious. I mean, it's not magic, but you sit down and you try to put it together like any other artist would.
Yes.
So
And then when I've heard jazz in the cities or wherever I've been, maybe a club or something, or it could even be a bar scene. But when I've heard it, it seems like the melody is always passed around to different instruments. So everybody kind of gets featured.
yep.
Is that the way you do it?
Yeah, it's pretty common to play a melody kind of together as the ensemble, and then for most of the middle of the tune, improvise and have different people improvise sort of in a row.
Yes.
So, so that's kind of a pretty standard jazz form where the improvised soloist is featured featured one at a time.
Wow, that's very impressive. Now, do you have favorite jazz bands
Absolutely.
and favorite artists you could mention?
There's sort of there's a cool movement of modern original jazz music now that's been going on for a while. But it's still really strong in the cities. And I think so one of the groups that I play with, the Adam Meckler Orchestra, is a big band that plays all original music.
Okay.
And the big influence for that group, for my friend Adam, who writes the music, is sort of this crew of people that came out of Bob Brookmeyer. Bob Brookmeyer, who was a valve trombonist in the 60s.
Okay.
And then he started writing some really innovative music for big band. And then a couple people studied with him. One of those people was Maria Schneider, who is a Minnesota native.
Oh.
And she's now won a lot of Grammys, and she's like kind of on the top of that world now. So people like Maria Schneider, there's a Canadian composer, Darcy James Argue, John Hollenbeck. They write a lot of really, really, really interesting large ensemble music that I like to listen to.
So what are you talking, how large?
So it's it's a big band. It's a jazz ensemble.
It's the big band
as
sound,
you would
so-
know it. Five saxophones,
Oh,
4
right,
trombones,
right.
4 trumpets, sometimes 5 trumpets, and a rhythm section.
Oh, wow.
So
So that's very interesting. And I don't know, I've always heard that the Twin Cities has a lot of good musicians in the music scene and so on. And do you find that with jazz?
yeah, I think so.
So you could actually go to Dakota or wherever and hear some of these musicians.
Yeah, at a place called Jazz Central, there's music 5, sometimes 6 nights a week.
Oh, wow.
And Tuesday nights is their big band night. And right now they have 5 different big bands that rotate kind of monthly.
Oh,
through there.
wow. How
And-
interesting.
Yeah.
So you have a lot of places you can go and hear and be inspired. And
Yeah.
very nice, very nice. Where might your quartet play? Would there be any venues or
We
places?
just played at Day Block Brewing, at that brewery downtown a couple of weeks
okay.
ago. We're trying to get booked on the Twin Cities Jazz Festival, which happens at the end of June. So, but I haven't heard back about that yet.
Where would that happen?
The main stage is in Mears Park in downtown St. Paul.
Yeah, I've heard of that.
And then there's a bunch of little clubs around St. Paul and Minneapolis that are connected those like 3 or 4 days, the end of June.
Okay.
So,
So that must be really delightful for you to play with these people.
yeah, I love it.
And what a nice thing for you. You have your teaching and you're inspiring those young students.
Trying.
And then you have your own little world where you're playing with, you might say, your equals kind of in music.
Yeah. Yeah, it keeps me engaged in the process.
I think that's really,
And I've been working to kind of connect those 2 worlds too,
Oh.
which has been fun. Last year, Adam of the Adam Meckler Orchestra that I play with, we were able to commission him to write a tune for the high school band.
really?
Yeah. So,
How fun is that?
yeah, so we premiered a new work by him. And then this year, we didn't do another commission, but a saxophonist in town, Aaron Hedenstrom, who's a great composer, we bought one of his pieces and worked on it. And he came in and worked on it with
Oh
the
my
band on
goodness.
his music.
How do you fund something like that? Do you have to have a grant or how do you do it?
Well, this year, some of the music vendors that we work with donated money to fund that thing.
Very
And then last year, we had some money that we raised when we hosted a little jazz festival with Stillwater High School a couple of years ago.
How neat.
And then there's a band backer group that does the cabaret night once a year in the spring. At
I've
Hudson.
heard about that.
So- and they donated some money also.
That's
So.
wonderful. Oh, you really expanded the program then.
I've tried to. I've tried to make those connections because it seems like the kids can, when the music comes alive, when the composer's in the room with them,
Oh, yes.
it makes a difference.
Wow. What do you do if, say, somebody is not at the level you want them to be at?
Well,
How do you teach that? It's
Well, that's
kind of
hard.
inbred.
well, yeah, but everyone's at a different level on all these
True.
things. And it's a wide, wide range.
Oh, yes, I can imagine.
So it takes, you have to have a lot of tricks to kind of help. some of
Really?
these. Well, just little things.
Yeah.
The biggest thing, I think the hardest thing is like rhythm, just trying to get someone to keep a steady beat, play the notes in the right place. That can be so hard because it's such like you have to coordinate the sort of the movement of the music and how to work this strange instrument at the same time. So.
It sounds like a really impossible task.
It can be at times.
I can't imagine. It's not like, when you're singing, it's totally different. I mean, you read the note pretty much as it is. And then once in a while, there'd be somebody that could improvise like a gospel solo or something. And I'm always in awe of those people that can do that kind of thing.
Well, sometimes it's easier to have an instrument to sort of help things as opposed to singing.
I would say so.
Sometimes it's harder because instruments can be weird. But the biggest thing is we have a great program here in Hudson.
Good.
Connie Root, who's been teaching for the longest time at the middle school, she's really responsible in a lot of ways for for making this program what it is, because she's just the decades that she's dedicated to this program.
Oh yes, she is really a very, very well-liked teacher.
And that makes such a difference. I mean, when you have someone like her and Carminke, who's there for ages too.
Yes.
When they set that standard really high for such a long time, you end up with a program of kids that can really have fun with it.
Well,
so
this is just so interesting talking to you. I've learned so much, and I just really enjoyed it. And I hear you are going to have a new auditorium.
Yeah.
Next year, maybe?
Yeah, the auditorium should be done in the fall or in the winter.
So you'll be doing some concerts there.
Yeah, we will.
I'm happy for you. I think it's a very, very nice positive that you're going to have a nice facility.
Yeah. The between the choir and the orchestra that's still pretty new, and the bands there's a lot of great music happening at the high school.
Yes. In fact, I was on that committee for the orchestra 3 times before we got it. Thankfully, we now have an orchestra.
Yep.
I think we've got the full music program that we really needed.
Yeah.
Yeah. So what would you say is going to be the best thing about the new auditorium for you?
I think it'll just sound better.
Oh, yeah.
It's just going to sound better in there.
Yeah, definitely.
For the acoustically, it should be much better suited.
Good.
For all of our ensembles that are playing.
Oh
there.
My gosh.
So that'll be fun, and it'll look a lot nicer too.
Yes, it will.
So.
I'm really excited. I got to bring my 3rd graders up there for orchestra lessons when we were doing Adopt a School. So that's how I kind of got to know the auditorium a little bit. That's when it was brand new.
Right.
Yeah. But anyway, I'm very happy and pleased that you're going to have that.
Yeah, thanks.
And I think you're just doing a wonderful job here.
Thank you.
So congrats and keep it up. And thank you so much for coming on my show today to talk about it.
Thanks, Bobby.
And I hope to be at some of your concerts.
All right.
The next one in May, when was that?
May 24th on a Wednesday.
And that would be in the evening, I'm sure.
7 o'clock.
In the auditorium.
In the auditorium.
Wow. And pretty soon they'll have to start constructing.
Yep. As soon as our last concerts are done, they've told us they're going to tear things out.
Oh my goodness, it's exciting. Well, thank you again, Nick. This is really fun to talk to you today.
You're welcome.
And I hope our audience enjoyed the talk and learned a little bit about jazz. I certainly did. And try to support those musicians at the high school and attend some of those concerts. And thank you very much for watching today.